Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Paper Session C. My name is Nicolette Terrasciano, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. But today's session is not about me, it's about our paper presenters. So let's get started with Sean Lotch. Can we give a round of applause for him, please?
Alrighty, well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Today, I'm here sort of on behalf of Susan Button, but also going to share a few of my own experiences, and we're just trying to let you know a little bit about the International Planetarium Society. Hopefully you're aware of it. If you're not a member, you should be. So do get signed up and do become a member. There's lots of benefits, lots of resources for you as a member of the International Planetarium Society. The main one, of course, is collaboration with people around the world. So I highly encourage you to get involved. I know this image isn't great, but that is the image from our last conference, which was in Berlin this past summer, summer of 2024. And so we have conferences every 2 years, and we'll get into a little bit of that as well. So IPS, of course, provides a number of resources to planetariums of all sizes, everything from portables to, of course, school-sized facilities to even the very biggest of domes. There's full dome resources. There's, of course, lots of educational opportunities and educational resources on the website. Also professional development opportunities as well. The biggest thing I always tell folks, though, IPS is a really incredible community. Think of your GLPA community, but extended in an international way, so you get to work with people from around the globe. I was lucky enough to serve as an officer for a long time, many, many years, and you know, but it was a great experience. It gave me a chance to work with people all around the globe, and I feel like I have friends in all corners of the globe. It's great to, whenever I travel, I usually connect with planetarium folks, and I've often had them come and stay with me as well. So just one of those things, but definitely something to check out. One of the main things we do that is very regular, of course, we have a quarterly journal that is delivered both in print and also is available online, and there's some discussion right now that they're pushing to do more online options for that as well. But we provide a quarterly journal. It's a really beautiful, glossy journal that has a variety of different articles. This is just sort of a little selection, lots of different topics and titles there. Keeps you up on what is happening in the field, research, different ideas for planetarium presentations, things of that nature, technology, reviews of books, the whole 9 yards. So definitely one of those things. The Planetarium, the organization has been around since 1972. It started off as the International Society of Planetarium Educators and has morphed over time. But this, again, is a great resource for folks. We do have student rates available, so students can get involved as well at a very reasonable rate. And definitely something. The big upcoming event is going to be our conference next summer in Fukuoka, Japan, from June 21st through 26th. Now, next week, Tuesday, October 15th, there is going to be a sort of discussion about this online that people are invited to join. Sort of you can find out all the details about the conference coming up in Fukuoka. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you have questions about that, ask Shannon Schmoll, who is our current IPS president and is around. She can tell you and give you much more details about that, but it'll be a chance to discuss things to know about. A lot of people are concerned when they first see IPS and they're like, oh, I can't be involved. It's an international thing. It's really expensive. And I will say this, that Japan, actually, the exchange rate is really good right now, and there are scholarships available. So one of my grad students, for instance, last year applied and got a scholarship to go to Berlin, and he's now working out in the field. In fact, he's at Youngstown State. He just started a new job here a couple weeks ago, so he's in the middle of all that fun. So a number of activities we do have. There's the International Day of Planetarians. This is something that was started by Loris Ramponi some years ago. It's a way to try to promote planetariums around the world at the same time. That date changes a little bit each year, but it's always around the beginning of May. So in here you see some of that. If online, of course, you can check that out. Portable planetariums, of course, are heavily involved in that, as well as fixed domes, too. There are a number of other initiatives like Asteroid Day, which celebrates, of course, and looks at protection from asteroids, and there's a variety of different special events that take place there, and many domes participate in that. The Data to Dome group is a group that helps get visualizations and data into domes, into digital systems. And so this is a group that if folks are interested in, you can participate in. So really, there's just a wide variety of things depending on your area of interest and what you like to do, ways to get involved. Another project that's been happening recently is Voices from the Dome. These are little clips that basically give you ideas of how people present different topics, but also sort of their memories of the dome, special events that happened in the dome, things that inspired them to go into the field, and they're available in multiple languages. So if you haven't checked out some of these, again, these are on the IPS website. There's also an opportunity for you to record something and share that with the community. So again, as mentioned, both here at GLPA at the business meeting yesterday, but also I would say the same is true for IPS. It is, of course, made up of members. So really, if you want IPS to do something, get involved and put in your contribution, of course, is what's going to make that happen as well. IPS participates in the International Space Week as well. That was, is actually sort of finishing up, you might say, October 4th through 10th. So there's some different activities they do with that with the United Nations. And every year that, of course, topic changes. But that is another opportunity to participate. And then there are a number of exchange programs. The first one that got started and has been going now for about 25 years or so is the Week in Italy. For an American operator. So this was started really by Loris Ramponi, Simonetta Erkley, who you sort of see here, this young lady here in the center, and sort of started that program. And it was an opportunity for an American to go and teach in Italy in English and have a chance to see how their planetariums work. I was lucky to participate in 2017. It's a fabulous experience. Again, there's lots of folks here who have participated. Ken did it recently as well. And a number of others. Again, it's been going for about 25 years. It was sort of the first exchange program. It gets you a chance to see how their planetariums work compared to how ours work. You talk about a variety of things and you get to teach. The one in Italy in particular, not only did I have a chance to teach with students, but also conduct some teacher workshops, things of that nature. So that was also very nice. A week in the United States. This is something that started a few years ago for an international person. And so, of course, this is a couple of ones that took place. I actually hosted someone from Italy 2 years ago. Elena Lazzaretta from Padua Planetarium came and presented in our dome and showed her a little bit of the U.S. We went down to see the Boston Museum of Science to give her an experience at a bigger dome. Worked with John Meter, who is in our area, who has a portable, so she got all these different experiences. Michelle Wistison also has hosted, and there's a number of other folks who have hosted this event. We are looking for hosts for 2026, so if you are interested in hosting someone, typically what that involves is IPS has some funds to pay for their travel and help, and then usually the local planetarium helps with lodging. In some cases, they might, like in Elena's case, I just had her stay with us at our guest room, but you can put them up in a hotel. There's lots of different options that way. But again, this gives you a chance to host someone from abroad. They teach in your facility and can share some of their cultural things with you, and it was really great. In our case, we had presentations with Elena, but then in English for our audiences, but then I also contacted the university's Italian language group and had them come over, and she presented in Italian for them. So that was a really nice cross-cultural exchange. And there is one that started a few years ago, also the week with GDP. This is in Germany. This year I got to participate. This is what happens when you put an American in Germany, given our current political situation here in the US. So, but no, in all seriousness, this was a great experience. I was there last week, so I'm still a little jet-lagged, if you will. But what you're seeing there, they actually had they have a little cute little model they use with students where you are the Earth and you have the moon out there. So the stocks were from, of course, one of the cultural events we did, which was to get to one of the castles there. The planetarium I was at was Galileum Solingen, which is sort of between Cologne and Dusseldorf. Really incredible facility to check out. This is a planetarium that started as an observatory back in 1924. In 2007, they decided they wanted to build a planetarium. It's run entirely by volunteers. Those volunteers raised 8.5 million euros to build this building, which you see there. It's an old gas tank, and there's a 14-meter dome with 84 seats. It has a Godot Cronus 2 and a RSA system, and a 7-story building next to it that houses everything from not just offices and production areas, but they have a full kitchen because they have catered events. They have a library, an exhibit area with a model builder. It's just a really incredible. Along the way, you get to see some cultural things. So I got out to Schlossberg Castle and also, of course, to the Cologne Cathedral and presented for a number of students there as well. And I highly recommend this. It was really great to talk with them. They're cost recovery like me, so they have to earn all of their own operational fees through tickets and through the events they do, which is a little bit different. Most German planetariums actually have some government funding and the like, either city or federal funding. This one does not. It's completely private, and it's run 100% by volunteers, which is really amazing given the number of shows that they do and the number of people they put through. I'll have a full report in the planetarium in a future issue. That's one thing when you do the exchanges. The one thing that they do expect you to do is to report out and do a little article in the planetarium about your experiences as well. So I highly encourage you to get involved. There's lots of other initiatives. This was just a little bit of a taste of some of the opportunities that IPS provides. And I think it's a really great organization to be a part of. I can say and talk to any of us who are members. There are a lot of former presidents that have come out of this region and another one of them is sitting here in the back of the room there. John Elvert is a former IPS president. If you have questions about IPS, talk to me, and talk to John, lots of other. Shannon, of course, is our current IPS president. Talk to her, things of that nature. So questions, and hopefully I'm okay on time. It looked like I was.
Yes,
Pretty
you're
close.
doing great. We have time for maybe one question. All right, I will come over with the mic.
Yes. Last year, IPS was offering free memberships for the Centennial. How did that go with increasing memberships? Does IPS still offer free memberships?
I don't know that they currently have free ones. I know they had created a special student rate that they have, and they have some lower priced membership options because it used to be $50 for an individual and $50 for a single year and $90 for two. I know they have a student rate. I'm not sure how, because I'm no longer the membership chair, I'm not really sure how much the free memberships yielded. So I'd have to check with Mike Smale, who might know, or Anna might know, one of our.
It didn't hurt, but again, what helped the most, which is normal, is the conference last year.
Yeah.
That shot up our membership like crazy after the pandemic. But the free memberships, they weren't. Oh, thank you. Sorry. So the free memberships, it was more you signed up and then you got through the end of the Centennial included for the price. Just so everybody's aware, we weren't giving away completely free memberships. You didn't miss that. But it helped some. It definitely helped some. But what helped the most was the conference, which is what we do typically see for membership spikes. Also in GLPA, we saw a several hundred person jump in our membership numbers, which has relaxed a little bit this year, and we expect to see go up again next year, of course.
Unfortunately, that's all we have for now, but of course, Sean said please talk to him and talk to all of his contacts. Can we have another round of applause for Sean, please? Awesome. So we're getting set up technology-wise, but I feel that Hannah Crumby and Shara Schultz will definitely be able to let you all know when they are ready. I would like to read the title this time because I did not do that last time. My apologies, Sean. This is my first time. But we are going to be hearing about a DIY Marketing Your Planetarium presentation by Hannah Crumby and Shara Schultz. So please enjoy. And I will be in the corner for your time checks.
Thank you. All right, good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to our session. I am going to do a really quick introduction, and then I'm going to let Hannah take the lead. So my name is Sarah Schultz. I'm the Planetarium Director at Minnesota State University Moorhead, and this is Hannah. Hannah is one of my undergraduate students, and she has taken the lead with our marketing and in-house marketing, and she's been doing a fantastic job, and she wants to tell you about it. So this is our budget-free, basically no budget, kind of do-it-yourself marketing, and I'm gonna let Hannah take it away.
Yes. Well, thank you, Sarah. Yes, like Sarah said, I am an undergraduate student at MSUM. I'm a student worker at our planetarium, and I'm a junior physics major, like I said. I'm also the SPS chapter president this year. So before I get started, I do want to say, first of all, this is what works for us. It's probably not going to be exactly what works for you. That would be very silly if you're, that would mean you're like physically on top of us, and I would prefer that you weren't, because that would probably crush our dome if you were on top of our dome. But I've also ordered this from what I view as being most important to least important. That's both like obviously free. They're all free options here, but also like time budget. Like we only have a limited amount of time. A lot of us don't have a lot of time to market. I'm a physics major, so I have like very little time often. So I prioritize what we do first versus what we do afterwards. So the very first thing that I always do is for every show is I identify what our target audience is. So we kind of have three main target audiences: toddlers and young children, approximately 6 and under. This is like, we usually use bright colors, that big, like obviously though, you're advertising to the parents, so do keep that in mind. You don't want to like completely like just, like the things that they watch on YouTube. Older children, 7 to 13, they are a little bit older, so you don't have to use as bright of colors, but you still targeting their parents, right? And then I kind of have, I guess, teenagers and adults, 14 and up. They can kind of buy their own planetarium ticket, so you're marketing directly to them. Within this group, though, you do want to keep in mind, like, are you doing like a laser show, or are you doing like a very sciencey show? Because that's two different target audiences that you want to kind of separate and distinctify. So after this, pretty much everything I make involves a graphic. So use some graphic software. I use Canva. Personally, Canva is very great. I just saw MJ nod. So then, yes, there's many other options. Use what works for you. We use Canva. Canva lets you do any size. It's all free. Highly recommend. This was made in Canva. So the first thing I do is I reach out to our returning customers. So we get a mailing list. The MSU Planetarium gets a mailing list from people who have purchased a ticket, but obviously you can get your mailing list from anywhere, wherever you collect emails. So I generally make a graphic that's just a sheet of paper. You can also format it within the email itself, but I make it, and then Sarah has the email list. So that's how I have to structure it. But generally what I'll do is I'll put in our first couple of upcoming shows. So think like the next 2-3 weeks, next month or so. This email I wanted to show off because it has our laser camp and our space camp called Space Rangers coming up that we also put in there. And then I also make a point of putting in the tickets link, so that way people can get directly to tickets. I have a QR code. Fun fact, you can make a QR code directly in Canva. So the next thing I use, our audience in Fargo Moorhead, is on Facebook. So I use Facebook. That is one of the primary things that I use. So the first thing I always do when we're advertising a show is I make a Facebook event. Facebook events are really great because it will push it out for you once you've made the event. So you can make it visible. You can make a little fun graphic, a little picture to put at the top. This is I think, fairly old graphic that I copied from Spooky Space. I recently discovered that you can duplicate Facebook events. It's very exciting because now it's much faster. I'm going like 4 times the rate. So then you can use a visual, you can add a ticket link, you can add a description, and you can also invite up to 500 people directly. It sends a push notification to your phone. This is obviously very useful for us because that's like 6 times our capacity. Then, once I have my events, I throw them into a Facebook group. So Facebook groups, they can reach an audience that is not already following you. So this is a great way to gain new followers. Then, like I said, you can forward the event with a description, and then it will just push the event with the date, the time, the location, the ticket link write in. So you only have to write like a couple sentences. You can literally see I just wrote a couple of sentences to this community page. And I also recommend you join a variety of groups. So we have some for like our like daycare groups and some that are like social events in the area. And then we also specialize our caption for each group if we have time. Yes. So then the next thing we do is we use a cross-linking platform. So there are many different cross-linking platforms. I believe we have used a different one in the past, but we currently use Meta Business Suite because it is free. And it allows you to essentially stick posts into a calendar, so you can be scheduled, I believe, up to 22 days in advance. So you can do all of your marketing for like 2-3 weeks at a time in one session. So that is very helpful for us. And you can also use this to see analytics across both Facebook and Instagram. Instagram's kind of where like our student demographic is for our advertising. So once you have posted all that stuff out to Facebook, you're going to want to make some specialized image content. So I have one here that's showing many different shows. We have a list of a full weekend at the planetarium. And I also have what I like to call a filler post. A filler post is essentially a post that is not directly about a show that is upcoming. So here I have a post of a grab bag that we made, but you can also post about like a fun fact, a fun space fact, or we used to do this or that, or is this true or false, and like interaction. And I always in my captions put a link. So do keep that in mind as well. Highly recommend the link because you can view the link. We'll talk about that later, or view the link clicks. Then stories. So the first thing you can do is you can just take your square post and you can literally just push it into stories, and it will put like some blur at the top and bottom, and you can attach a link. If you have extra time, like I happen to in summer 2024, you can make some specialized stories. This is one I made for, I think, yes, an old one I made that also I believe has a typo, which I'm just discovering now. But yes, so this one you can swipe up for tickets. Stories are around for a short period of time, but they get a lot of views. So that is the one thing that I really like about them. So then I have a bunch of more things to talk about. First thing, short form video, TikTok Reels. You can schedule Reels through Meta, like we use. And you can make trailer for shows, but it often has low ticket conversion. I found it's best to make short form content specifically with trends in mind. So if you've ever seen like a little trendy, like not necessarily a dance, but they have like, I think one time we made a video with like, what planet are you? And it's like a little filter on TikTok. Those can be pushed out for all eternity and they will never become irrelevant because the show is over. So they increase brand awareness. I think they're really great. And then I have community outreach. Community outreach is very, very important. But it's not all, but I put it down here because it's a very large time investment and it's not, you can't move it around. You're very much so stuck in one time. But make sure you go talk to people one-on-one about your organization because they will want to hear what you have to say, and they will be a lot more convinced when they're looking a person in the face than when they're looking at a graphic that looks like that. So let's see. All right, merchandise. So make merchandise with your logo. See, yes, ooh ah, yes. And then, so people will wear your merch. They'll be reminded of their time at the planetarium, but also wear your own merch because you can be your own billboard almost of your planetarium. So then, okay, my last options here are, they do cost a little bit of money, but most of them not a lot. The first one I have is posters in the community. Just pretty much just the printing cost, but it's also, you have to drive and walk around, which can take time. And it's also very cold in Fargo-Moorhead most of our season of planetarium shows, so that's also part of it. So again, printing flyers to hand out at events. We do this all the time. We need to start doing this again, but yes, Sarah just said yes. So we need to print flyers to hand out, or you can print flyers to hand out at events. It's a great way to get repeat customers. Then incentives for return visits, like a loyalty program or that type of thing. I've put this under the paid option because obviously whatever you give them for the loyalty program costs money, whether that's even just like a sticker or free tickets or that type of thing. And then I will just acknowledge that like billboards exist, but obviously this is a budget conscious presentation, so I won't give it any more time. So lastly, learning from analytics. You can look at your analytics and see what does well and then replicate that. So link clicks are my favorite metric because they show direct conversions to tickets, and I find it's the most important metric that we have as planetariums. So you want to look like, oh, did I get like 6 or 7 link clicks? Did I get like 1 or 2 link clicks? Like, what's good for your planetarium is going to be different for us, so make sure you just know see what works and what's good for you. Other important metrics as well, views. Did some posts get a lot more views? What did you do? Did you follow a trend? That type of thing. And then followers gained or lost. So let's say you like posted, the first time you post in a while, you'll probably lose some followers because people will be like, oh, why are we following this person? But if you like post and then you lose a bunch of followers, like you want to know what happened, or if you gain a bunch of followers, you want to know what happened that's good. And like I said, comparing to other content, what does well, Meta has a very beautiful graph that just shows like the standard deviation of your content and where it falls in that standard deviation. But yes, always check your analytics, look at them, learn from them. It's the best way to tell what works for your area. It's going to be my area, like I said earlier. I really hope it's not. But lastly, reach out. I have Sarah's email, and then I have 2 of my emails because I'm a student and I will graduate one day. But yes, thank you so much.
All right. Beautiful. We have some time for questions. It looks like Sarah has one.
I want you to tell us how a physics major got involved in marketing.
Oh, yes, of course. So when I was in high school, I loved like online content, and I actually made some. It was like Twitch streaming to like 3 people, so it was not very big, but I loved it. And so I went to Sarah and I went, Sarah, like I do this, and like you guys, I know you guys have needed some help. I will help. Or I think it might have been MJ. Was it you or was it?
I did not want to do marketing anymore.
Well, yeah, but did you go to Sarah and talk to her?
Probably.
She's nodding. Okay, yes. So someone went to Sarah and was like, Hannah can do this. And so I essentially just got thrown into it. And ever since, the best way I can describe it is I've been like, you know, when you're like the spaghetti will stick to the wall when it's cooked, it feels like I've slowly been taking spaghetti out of the pot and just seeing about every 30 seconds if it's done.
Awesome. Oh, we have 2. We might be able to do both. We'll see.
Did you do any kind of Facebook boosting, paid boosting, and did it help?
We have done it for specifically, sometimes we'll cross-post with our physics club, and usually our physics club will donate like 10 or 20 bucks to throw in the marketing. It can help. However, I found that like it's very variable. I would recommend making sure, if you're going to advertise a show with money, advertise a popular one, because it will go further with less money. But we have used it. It has worked. I think we've just put 20 bucks into like a demo show, haven't we? And we've gotten a decent number of people. Yes, so it has worked. We don't use it all the time, but we do use it sometimes.
Okay. We can do the one more question from Sean. We just would recommend that the next presenter, Jean, would come up and get ready to start their presentation to keep things going.
I noticed you had some things about our libraries and tabling. Have you done any partnerships with libraries? Like we do a ticketing partnership with a couple libraries in our area, and that way folks who might not be able to afford a ticket can get a ticket, but also it's a great way because they help promote things that way.
Yes. MJ's very ready to answer. She has the answer apparently.
We haven't done anything specifically with ticketing, but definitely the Fargo Public
Yes.
Library. A lot of those are free events. So they do marketing themselves, and then we also push that marketing. So back to what Hannah said, a lot of it is cross-posting and boosting from there. So I don't think there's really anything that we have in our community that would be an opportunity for us to do a combination ticket thing. But I think that
Or
would be a
actually,
really good idea.
You're a liar. We are about to do one with our oceanarium on campus.
For ticketing?
We're about to do Cells joint memberships, I think. But don't tell anyone yet, because it's still kind of a secret. Don't let Sarah know I told you.
Well, I'm glad it's still a secret
Yeah.
because we do have to get moving on.
Yes.
So if you have any more questions for Hannah or Sarah, please contact them after the paper presentation. So thank you again. Can we give a round of applause for our presenters, please? Awesome. Up next is going to be Jean Creighton. She's going to be talking about how to give a talk. Very exciting. I definitely need to learn some of that. So can we give it up for Jean, please? Woo.
So let's go for the PowerPoint. The fourth one. That's the TV. Yeah. Great, thank you. All right. Good morning. You have little white, oh, sorry. I can hold it. You have white little pieces of paper next to you, and this is where I'd like you to please write the thing that resonated with you most, and you can leave it on your seat. I'll pick it up at the end. If one of the ideas that you have that's really worked for you I did not mention, please write it down. So I'm the director at the UWM Manfred Olson Planetarium I've been there for 18 years now. And at first, I really only worried about content. And I talked to a friend of mine who's in theater, and I said, so sometimes these talks really work, and I feel like I'm on fire, and sometimes it really doesn't. And she said, you need to connect with your audience. Then you're on your side. So my goal today is talk to you about ways to connect with your audience that I have found useful. As I said, I'm looking also for your ideas. The reason why I think that makes such a big difference for live presentations is you build a relationship with your audience, that builds trust, the message that you have lands better, and we all enjoy it more as a presenter, but also the audience members. So I've already given you the heads up. I'd like to hear what, if there's time, you can tell me and the group with your words, but please write it down. The roadmap, or box top, as I'll refer to in a moment, is I'd like you to think about what we do before the talk, during the talk, and after the talk. For novices, the thing that they forget is, what is the one message? Yes, you have lots of ideas in your talk, but what is the key thing that you're trying to communicate? That's harder sometimes to identify than meets the eye. And also, to whom are you talking with? If you have a message that you just press the play button and you start talking regardless of who is in front of you, then that's a problem. Then you might as well just put a movie up, right? The fact that you are a real person talking to people in the room, like I know, I'm talking to people who have lots of experience, many of you, lots of experience talking to audiences, so you already have lots of tricks up your sleeve. So considering who your message is for morphs the message. So things that I consider beforehand make the ideas relatable. Happily, graphics in our business are easy. We all can come up with really cool graphics. Yay for us. Stories are now talked a lot about in our industry, and yes, I agree, the idea that the and, but, therefore works better than and. But I think we need to get more personal stories in as well, not just the science story. So for example, this is me on Sophia. I'm in the stratosphere at 45,000 feet. We're looking principally at very young stars, but I'm behind the pilot, and he says, I think I see some northern lights there. And they get better and better and better, and we're surrounded, and I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. This is 2014. I have a brand new phone. I pull it out. I take a picture. Nothing, zip, appears on my phone. Absolutely nothing. And I'm like, how is it possible that there's so much light and my phone captures nothing? The lovely pilot says, here, take some night goggles, put them against the window, and take a picture again. This is take 2. Nothing to write home about. Every picture on the internet that you see of northern lights or of aurora is going to be better. But this is my picture from the stratosphere. And let's see if this works. So I just want to guide your eye where the curtain of light is. This is where it's highest. Of course, infrared light is emitted from the airplane, from the ground, from the air. That's why it looks so messy. Okay. The other thing I found is gestures. When I'm planning a show, I think, how can I use my audience use their hands? It turns out that I'm holding 2 things, and I need 2 hands to do what I'm doing. So I'm going to ask you to please make a fist. This is an electron that belongs to oxygen, and I'd like you to use your other hand. This is particles from the sun that carries energy that takes your electron to a higher level. Boing, oing, oing. Excellent. You get points for sound effects, by the way. And then I ask my audience, okay, we got to that excited state. A few fractions of a second later, it's going to emit that excess energy, and it's going to drop down. We all want to be lazy and be at our basic level. We go but down. So on the count of 3, we're going to take our electron and have it de-excite to its base level. Make whatever sound you like. 1, 2, 3. Nice. So that's how you can talk about de-exciting electrons in a way that keeps people engaged and awake, right? That is a concern in a dark room. Rehearse. Record yourself. You're going to catch things that you do that nobody's going to have the guts to tell you. I've figured out, for example, that I often start something with the word now. And nobody told me, I didn't hear it, but I heard myself. I'd say at least 3 times, and over a period of time. It's better in front of a live audience. Real people are going to tell you your blind spots, that you said something that didn't make any sense. Many of you have told me, yeah, but I don't have anybody. I don't have staff. I'm a loner. Fine. If it's a really important talk, like you're giving a talk to your board for your funding, call in favors. Talk to your family. Anybody. Please ask them to listen to you so that you get whatever feedback you need. You don't want to rehearse the first time in front of people that make decisions that change your life. I should just put in a plug that there is an article in the current, actually, planetarium that I wrote under Seeking What Works about rehearsals. The best advice I've gotten is greet people. When they come in your planetarium, just make them feel welcome. This is a good story, but I timed it. I don't have time for it, so I'll keep going. I used to craft my talks like a murder mystery. And I would sort of reveal the big idea at the end. And I thought that was quite brilliant. And then somebody told me, talks are like puzzles. They're not like murder mysteries. If you put a whole bunch of pieces of information in front of people, they can't make the puzzle together. They can't put it together unless you give them the box top, unless you give them where you are going with this. So that made sense to me. So now I always give people the box top. I always give them what is the main idea and how am I going to get there. People need to hear things at least twice. We hear about 50% of what people tell us at the best of times. So it's good to remember that. We often talk about not to use jargon. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. People in the room know that. But I'm going to advocate to use more than one language if you can. How many of you speak a second language, even a bit? Excellent. Please introduce it. Find opportunities. I introduce myself in my public shows when I have a little more time by saying, when I was about 5, we were walking down the street. I looked up to my mom and I said, Mama, τα αστέρια πώς γεννιούνται, which means, Mummy, how are stars born? And this has been an interesting question to me ever since. Introducing other languages makes people, especially if English is not their first language, feel more welcome in your space. Sun isn't easy because it's sol, and that's baked into the solar system. So even if you don't speak the language fluently, you can bring it in. We're going to honor the Dakota people. That would be we. And in Ojibwe is Gizis. I like to try and bring at least one indigenous word in my program where possible. That is my drawing. I'm playing with watercolors, and I really liked my son there. Bringing more of yourself, make yourself more approachable, right? I'm perhaps an interesting person. I've been in the stratosphere. I grew up in Greece. People don't care about that as much as I call my mom every day who has dementia. And they lean in because that's an experience that they might have more connection to, they might relate more to. So
bring whatever of yourself you're comfortable in bringing to your audience, and that makes many more connection points than otherwise. Do get feedback from your audience and your staff, and then you can fold that feedback back into your rehearsal. I rehearse every day that I have a major show, a public show on Fridays. I do it again even if I've done that show many times, because I find that it gets a new life and I'm more comfortable with the content and the way that I will interact with the people. So I have 2 minutes. Is that 2 minutes to 10 or 2 minutes to 12? Okay, so excellent. Then I timed this beautifully. I'd love to hear from you, or if you don't want to say out loud, please write it on your piece of paper. What resonated from what I said? What resonated with you? I'd love to hear from a couple people. Go ahead, Mary. Oh, sorry, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was writing down my thing.
One of the ones that's my favorite and something that Lawrence Hall does a lot, and I learned from them actually, I hadn't done it before I worked there, is the different languages. Like one of the things at the beginning of the show is they always ask like, what's a name you know of the sun? And that's also an interactive thing with guests.
I'm going to do my best. I would go back first. There we go.
I liked when you spoke about bringing more of you to the show. I think it would be really important to make sure that your show presenter is emotionally intelligent, that they have the ability to be aware of their own feelings and aware of themselves, so that they are better able to deliver that message.
Yes, you do have to be careful. You know, obviously you'll need to be comfortable with what is it that you share. Some aspects of yourself you might not want to share. Yeah. There's a point here. MJ was here as well.
Okay, so how are we doing this? We can go this way.
Yeah, I love the idea of always finding different ways to interact with the audience and connecting with them. I think that's the one I really appreciated that. Something that's worked for me is for some shows I bake into it like questions that I can ask them like with a quiz or something like that. Either I put up an ABC or something like, oh, can you find the Big Dipper? And something that's worked is I have a box of very cheap laser pointers, and I offer them to the adults that come in. If they would wish to participate, they take a laser pointer, and then I say, all right, does anybody know where the Big Dipper is? And then we have the audience themselves. Some of them are circling the Big Dipper, or they make a selection or something like that. So that's actually worked fairly well.
I don't know if we have time. There's Amy behind and MJ. Oh. Hello.
I wanted to ask about how you are using the languages. You mentioned that you like to put in indigenous words whenever you can, and you showed us what the Ojibwe word for the sun is. Have you been working with those local tribes to get permission to do that? Like, I know you've given talks before about building relationship with some of the local tribal communities, but do you have the permission to use these words?
I do. So I've worked very closely with the Electo Queenie Institute for Indian American Education on campus and with people in the community and actually beyond. There have been times where it's been actually pretty humbling because we have, there are times in the year where all these events around indigenous culture, and sometimes they just don't have enough people. And we had an event at the planetarium, and it looked like they might not be able to provide the special guest speaker that I was hoping they would. And I said, well, what are we going to do? I don't want to be alone here. And they said, you are an ally. We need people like you because we simply cannot get ourselves to all the places. And I was like, oh, thank you. That's that really helped. So I almost mentioned it yesterday in one of the talks when Jim was talking that I'm Greek, right? And I know how excited I am when people are saying Greek words, they mispronounce them, they tell the story not quite right. I don't care. I'm happy that they're talking about the stories, right? So I think that sometimes it's the same way. I get it. People are happy to have their culture acknowledged in respectful ways. Thank you.
I would do more, but we are approaching the end of that session. So we have a round of applause for Jean, please. All right, we're going to do a quick technical shift, but up next is Anna Green. They will be talking about, sorry, I'm getting the title, Rising Stars Empowering Students Through Short-Term Planetarium Internships. So welcome to the stage, Anna Green.
I like to pace, so. Hi, so I'm Anna Green. I am from Planetarium Jena in Germany, and today I finally, for the first time in I don't know how many years, don't want to talk to you about a conference that's coming up. I would like to talk to you about empowering young students. So I recently had the opportunity to get a little more hands-on with short-term internships. So what does a short-term internship look like? Not what Magato is doing. So in Germany, we have what's called the Schülerpraktikum. That is typically a 2-week program. It is required of all students in grades 9 and 10. Normally 2 weeks, could be a week due to scheduling issues. And typically there are no real guidelines for the hosts of these students. And it is usually their first experience in the workplace. Germany has pretty strict child labor laws, so. The St. Louis Science Center is what I'm gonna work back towards for an American comparison. They used to have what was called the junior internship. Unfortunately, the pandemic ended that. It's not required. So they're actually doing it out of their own free will. It was a summer-long placement, so a couple months versus a couple weeks. They had very specific requirements for the students and the host departments. And this was often used for experience on university applications. All right, 2 weeks, 2 months, why even bother? What are you gonna get done? Well, for the intern, again, it's required, so none of us have a choice on that one. It is inspiring. This is their first chance to look at what they could do for a job and see that, oh, it doesn't have to be soul-sucking. It could be fun. It's affirming. It shows them that they are worthwhile as a human and that they have things to look forward to beyond their little teeny tiny bubble of school. And it can be fun. Have fun. And of course, you're able to give them career guidance as well because they may not know what they want to do. They're 15. And then, of course, also for them, it is resume building for university and beyond, and I'll touch more on that in the end. For the mentor, it was extremely fulfilling for me. I am selfish, and I really love that warm, fuzzy feeling when I help other people, particularly the youngins, as they work their way forward in life. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you feel that way as well. Again, affirming that I am actually doing a good thing and might be good at my job. And I had a ton of fun with this. It was taxing, but it was fun. And it makes meaningful community impact. And also it provides us potential full-time help in the future because he really wants to come back and work for us now. So, and looks good on a resume. So first of all, bringing them in, just having them shadow from the get-go, experience as many departments as you possibly can. So if you're in a science center, maybe that means departments outside the planetarium. For us, we are a standalone planetarium, so that's gonna mean looking at production, looking at what my boss, who is the director, does. What do I do as the entire education department? What does my colleague do working on the Full Dome Festival? Encourage them to be part of the team. So this is not just working on things, this is coming with you for social things. So we have mandatory 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. coffee breaks every day where we go outside and sit in the sun and drink coffee. And he was always invited to come with us. And we always on Thursdays go to a restaurant to eat outside of our own restaurant together. He came with us. We always ensured that he was part of the team, was included in conversations, and he was one of us. This also gives him the opportunity to see how at least one organization functions, and of course to learn content. I realize this is terrible to see. Don't worry, things like this are included in my paper. So you'll get that in the abstract. But I had him create a show. I really didn't know at first what I was going to do with him because, again, I had no guidelines. And they're like, oh, it's just 2 weeks. Just have him sit there and, like, do paperwork or something. So I was like, no, we're not doing that. He has an interest. So I gave him a template that I created. And this is honestly the same template I use to parse out shows myself. And so I sat him down and I said, if you had an hour to do whatever you wanted in the planetarium for a show, what would you do? And he got a day to do research, and he got a day to, because we only had 1 week, unfortunately, and he got a day to put this all together and put it into the template is what they're called in English, and then he got feedback from me on what was feasible. I didn't want to stifle him on, oh no, our software can't do that. I wanted to ensure that he first got to think big, what would I do? And it also was a chance to get him thinking about what visuals and audio he would want to include too, not just what he would want to say. So then he got to come into the dome. So we are not hybrid planetarium. We currently have a disconnected Starball and digital system, and for all intents and for all intents and purposes, I just had him work, since it was 1 week, with our digital system. Most of what he wanted to show off was going to work better with the digital system. And so I sat him down with UniView and gave him the opportunity to learn how to live fly, how to select things on the fly, and how to bring in his own custom modules that I had pre-ready for him. That was that would have taken 4 more minutes, or sorry, 4 more weeks for him to learn. But, yeah, he caught on extremely quickly. And if I had had more time as well, I would have been able to go into the finer details of how to present. Unfortunately, again, with 5 days, that was not possible. In a 2-week program, I would actually have them presenting at the end for their teachers and colleagues and anyone that they wouldn't want to bring in. In his case, he presented just for me, and he wanted to talk about the future of space exploration. And so he worked in the Artemis flight with its loop around the moon. Thank you, Tal Immersive, for all of those wonderful SPICE modules. And the biggest thing is giving him guidance, or giving them guidance without micromanagement, letting them be hands-on. It can be just the basics. Oh gosh, please, proper microphone use. It's not down here. The belly button doesn't talk. And also proper laser pointer use. If you think you're going too slow with the laser pointer, you're almost going the correct speed. And he got really good at that, I have to say. Some of our other presenters could learn from him. And then also, how do you work with cadences, music, and silence? How do you let people enjoy the silence in your dome? And what if there's a technical problem? He got to experience a ton of that because we're starting renovations already. So we had a water break that he got to help with. We had UniView crash on us. We had a system just decide not to turn on that day. So he really got to experience the whole plethora and did great with it. He rolled with everything, which was phenomenal. So this is him programming UniView. Practice makes perfect. You don't have to use every system. We didn't. It doesn't have to be what you've been doing for your entire career. Small things can also be very impactful. And a lot of this I covered on the last slide. So in Germany, when you leave a job or you leave an internship, your supervisor is required to give you what's called a Zeugnis. That's basically a recommendation letter. And I had to fill one out for, every time I've had an intern, I've had to fill out something that looks like this. I realize it is in German. In my toolkit that is included in my paper, it will be in English, I promise. But you go through and you assess them on how they did. And then it goes further and you can talk about like what their attitude was like and stuff like soft skills and things like that too. And this will follow them until it is no longer on their resume. Any job that they go to in the future, their future employer can ask to see that letter. Now, it's a lot of work to set up at first, a lot. It was a very exhausting week, but once you have it done, now you have your template moving forward. So reusable templates, clear instructions, especially if you're not given any to begin with, and structured projects. Your students that you get, though, may not always be interested. And I, unfortunately, in previous jobs in Germany, have had students who had anxiety, totally understandable. Maybe presenting's not for them and they need to be in production. Disengaged I had, too cool. And I also had ones that I actually had to completely kick out because they were mocking other students in the dome, and that is not okay. So they were sent home. So learning through failure, what do you do when they're repeatedly rude with visitors? Or if they're destructive, thank God we didn't have destructive at least. And what are the consequences? That's the unfun part. Usually though, you can get the students involved, you're not gonna have these issues. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. And again, I have a whole toolkit, outlines for 1 week and 2 week programs, and work pages. That's not what they're called. Worksheets, thank you. Arbeitsblätter, duh. All of that will be at the end of my paper as an appendix, so that should be in the proceedings when those come out. And only because it's been 10 years since I first met one of our hosts, and he helped me with my paper that I did at that WAC, which was based on Dr. Strangelove, so. Oh no, my hat! Ah! So a big thanks to Tad for all the work he's been doing in the dome this week.
Okay, so I think we'll have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions before we gotta go to our beloved coffee break.
Great job, Anna. What was the most surprising thing you learned from your interns?
That is a great question. I think I was surprised at how, I probably shouldn't have been because they're the video game era, but I think I was surprised with just how quickly he caught on to being able to multitask while using the software in the dome. Because I do have other presenters who are terrified of doing things on the fly live. And we'll get them there, but he just jumped right in. And a lot of times I know teenagers, it's anxiety inducing, especially around a bunch of adults, to take control and be like the adults around you. And he just jumped right in and blended real well. So that was pretty impressive to me.
Okay, do we have any final questions before we go for our coffee break? Ooh, in the back. This will probably be our last one. Thank you all.
So you say you have them for 1 to 2 weeks. Is that 40 hours? Is that 80 hours? Like how many hours are you actually working with the teens?
So I personally don't make them stay the whole day. I'm one of the few 40 hours a week people at my job. Germans don't tend to work 40-hour weeks because they do it right. But I'm the American who was stupid enough to sign a 40-hour. No, that's okay. Honestly, I need the 40 hours. So anyway, I didn't make him stay. I usually had him come an hour after I got there, unless he was going to help turn on the building in the morning, and then he came an hour before I did. Unfortunately, one of our wonderful presenters who has been there much longer than I have, she took him around to do that, so I am not a morning person. But I had him come in an hour after, and then he usually stayed until an hour or 2 before I left, with the exception of the days that we worked with Uniview, because we had to wait for the afternoon pause in our show schedule to get him into the dome. So those days I had him come a few hours later. So he probably worked about 5 or 6 hours a day. So once they're 18, though, there's another program that's completely different. The state pays them a little bit of pocket money, and they work for you for a year as long as you're a nonprofit, which super, super cool program. But they are, once they turn 18, they can work overtime. They can be there as late as you need them to be. That's perfect. But before they turn 18, it's a little, as it should be.
Well, all right. Thank you so much for your lovely presentation, Anna. It was great. It's officially coffee time, but I would like to make a reminder that we would like to be very respectful to our presenters. The next presenter is starting at 11 sharp, so please feel free to get your coffee, but be back here early so you can get your seat and be respectful to other presenters. We look forward to seeing you back slightly before 11. Enjoy your coffee.
Thank you.
11.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee Break. It's officially 11 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, wow, I feel like I'm in the planetarium. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Awesome. I'm a 24-year-old, and I never thought I'd have to do that, but that's awesome. Anyway, let's welcome to the podium Mary Holt. She's going to be talking about her presentation, People Management in the Planetarium. Let's give it up for Mary. Woo!
All right. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's nice and refreshed from their coffee break. My name is Mary Holt, if we have not met yet. I am formerly, sadly, of the Lawrence Hall of Science in Berkeley, California, and I'll talk more about that near the end of the show. But what I did for this paper was really, really fun. I actually talked to a bunch of people because I was a new manager and wanted to learn about other people's experiences managing people specifically. So I reached out to the various planetarium networks like Dome Dialogues and Domel and everything, and just asked like, hey, can you talk to me about your experiences being a manager? And I even talked to a couple of people who had never been managers before, but shared their experiences being managed by people as well. So I ended up with quite a few folks. I talked to 23 people. It wasn't super scientific. I didn't have the same questions for everybody, just kind of saw where the conversation led us. But I did end up with a lot of common themes. So that's kind of what the overall structure of the paper is picking out those common themes that came up in the conversations. And in the paper, I did not identify anybody individually because it turns out this topic can be a little touchy, and several people were like, "You're not going to use my name, right?" And I was like, "No, don't worry." So I did not use any identifying characteristics beyond things very general, like I was able to talk to like 12 women and 11 men. Most of them were from the United States, but a couple people live outside the United States. And I took away 7 main common themes, which I will talk about now. So the first one, and the most common one, I think, is that we don't get trained for this. The vast majority of people who become managers, especially in our field, seemingly, is that there's zero official training that people get. They just kind of get thrown into it, and you just have to figure it out yourself. So something that it's really important in being a manager is seeking out that training for yourself. So finding places where you can get information about how to improve and how to keep growing as a manager, and also seek out other people to talk to and everything like that, because we often don't have that formalized training. Empathy is incredibly important. Turns out if you're a people manager, you're managing people. People have feelings, they have thoughts, they have personalities that don't always get along. So one of the biggest challenges of being a people manager is just, managing the relationships that you have between your staff. So that was something that a lot of people pointed out, was having lots of empathy, lots of patience with people, and genuinely caring about your staff. That's really, really important. People can tell if you're being genuine about how you feel about them. And yes, that's what I have for that slide. And as part of that, making sure that you're very clear and with your communication, and that you're frequently communicating with your staff as well. Even if you have to make a decision as a manager and your staff has zero say, they're not going to change your mind. Even so, if you tell them how you got to that decision, they're going to feel respected. They're going to feel like heard, even if there's nothing they can do to change the situation. So that's really, really important to make sure that you're really clearly and honestly communicating with your staff. And don't be like this guy. Mentorships are important. Do listen to the youth or the people above you. Reach out to people. Make sure, especially since we don't have a whole lot of formalized training, make sure that you really tap into this awesome community that we're all part of. We're all here because we want to learn from each other. So make sure to look for mentors that have been in the field longer than you or have different experience than you do, and offer that to other people as well. And trusting your people to do their jobs is very important. How many people like a micromanager? Exactly, nobody. So make sure that you trust your people, and make sure that you give them some autonomy and have they feel like they're trusted and they can feel more fulfilled in their job that way if you feel like you have some ownership over what you're doing. And another very difficult part of management is that it is your job as a manager to advocate and fight for your staff. And often that's with the people that are higher up than you in the organization, especially. And that can be really challenging, but it is, I think, a very important point that I wanted to make sure to include. And hopefully you don't have to do it too often. Hopefully the people above you are cool and nice and don't cause you too many problems, but in my experience, that's not often the case. And then the last theme is, for better or worse, one person can make a really big difference. In a lot of the conversations I had in both directions, people mentioned like, oh, this particular person at my job, which is not why I'm not identifying anybody because I heard names, would either have a really positive influence or sometimes a really negative influence on possibly even the entire institution sometimes. So making sure that we are taking ourselves seriously, not too seriously, obviously, I just used GIFs for my entire presentation, but taking yourself seriously and making sure that you're frequently being self-reflective and making sure that you're growing in your position and being kind to people is very important. And in conclusion, I did want to be very transparent with this presentation that it was very bittersweet to write this. Literally the week I was about to start writing this paper, I got laid off and was informed that my position was being eliminated. So I wanted to make sure to still do it and share all this information I got from so many of our wonderful colleagues, because despite the fact that right now I'm not doing this work, hopefully I will in the future maybe, and also we have a wonderful community that I want to continue to be a part of, so I wanted to make sure to share with everybody. So I talked really fast, so I'm probably a little early, but yeah, that's what I have for you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Well, she is exactly right. She got done with her presentation, but all that means is that science is embodied in every part of her being. She talked faster than the speed of light, so we're all good. So we're all good. Do we have any questions for Mary at all? Oh, yes, friend.
Mary, did you include, like, with your being compassionate and being empathetic with your staff and everything, do you think it's really important to include deadlines?
Oh yeah, you know, I didn't specifically call out deadlines, but I did mention the importance of boundaries with, you know, like not mean boundary. I think boundaries are great. I've had conversations with other people that are like, no, boundaries are bad. I'm like, boundaries are actually really, really good and important. So yeah, that is something I mentioned in the paper as well. Cool. Yeah.
This is really great. And I was wondering if you had thought about seeing what additional feedback and discussion this could entail if you've considered potentially offering this as a workshop at a future conference.
Ooh, I love that idea. That's a great idea. I'll think about that.
Oh, another question.
I just wanted to add that there is a booklet on the Department of Justice's website. You can just Google it, How to Talk to People with Disabilities. That's the
wonderful.
title of the booklet, and it is very thorough, and your staff should really become aware of that content.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I'm trying to think if that definitely came up in some of the conversations for sure. Cause like, I mean, we're in the planetarium field. We have a lot of neurospicy folks and disabled people of all kinds in our field. So it's very important to keep that in mind with our staff.
Ooh, question in the back.
Thank you. So I love all of these themes. I think I agree, and it's, you know, that's what I try to embody. You can talk to them if they agree. But one of the things I see here too is this seems to be just generally good advice no matter what your position. And I'm wondering if you found any themes that were more planetarium specific.
That is a great question. I would have to sift through my 50 pages of notes to double check. I'm sure there was, and I'm honestly blanking right now if I had anything super planetarium specific. I don't know that there, but at the same time, like I'm not sure there was a ton that was planetarium specific, just because this is a position that exists in pretty much every field. So I think, yeah, nothing that I can think of off the top of my head, but I can check.
I have a comment, and that is I work with undergraduate students, and although for me the dream, and for most of us in the room, is not to be micromanaged, students have different needs. They want to be told what to do in some detail. So sometimes it's nice to just talk to figure out what the needs of the people you're supervising are, because they'll vary wildly and widely.
Yes, that is a very good point. And I will say this, these conversations were definitely a little more biased towards managing full-time adult staff, I would say, versus like students or undergrads and things like that. It was more so like higher up folks.
And that question kind of, well, we'll piggyback it because it contained elements that I was going to ask. But what I was going to ask about is, did you see distinctions between, say, working with student employees versus volunteers and docents versus part-time versus full-time, say, planetarium employees? Where, where were the big differences between those?
That is a great question, and I think that would be a wonderful place to start for another paper, perhaps next year. Dig into some of that a little more, because I didn't get into too many of the specifics of sifting through like what's different between the different types of managing of different roles. So that would be really interesting, actually. No, use the microphone.
Okay, so did you see a distinction, though, in your discussions with people between those? I imagine you did, right?
Yeah, I think so. And also something that's interesting as well, I guess something actually to go off of Shannon's question of, is there anything that is more unique to the planetarium? Something that is very common in the planetarium field is that there are very few full-time people. So most of us are like a one person full-time and with students or whatever. So that was a very common experience, to be one or two of the only like full-time people in your place.
Just real quickly, one of the things that I've learned throughout my career is that the most important thing, no matter whether they're a volunteer, part-time, full-time, we have to meet people where they are. And sometimes they come with a lot of baggage. Sometimes they come with a lot of special skills. They may not be in the areas that we would not like them to be, or even what they applied to be, but we will work and adapt and put people where their strengths are, and hopefully continually work with them to build up skills and experience. Sometimes that takes a while. Some people, I've had people that are in their 40s who still expect me to tell them what to do every day. And so, yeah, that can be really frustrating, but we have to deal with it where it is, rather than where we would want it to be.
Absolutely, yes. I think that definitely falls in the empathy bucket for sure.
All right, could we give another round of applause for Mary, please? Thank you. By the way, Mary, I would love to talk to you later. I am currently in my communications master's, and I was interested if you did anything about nonverbal communication, but we can talk later.
Oh, yes.
All right, we're going to do a technology shift real quick, but up next is Renee Kerrigan. She will be giving a presentation on content marketing for your dome, but we will give a round of applause to welcome her to the stage once her presentation is up on the screen.
I wanted to show my notes. Can you?
Yep. That's exactly what I want. Which one were you using? I don't know if we can.
And where does this go?
Oh, that's power. Do you want the clicker?
No.
No? Okay.
All right. Looks like Renee is ready to go. So could we have a round of applause to welcome her to the stage? Renee Kerrigan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Renee Kerrigan. I'm the Curator of Science and the Planetarium Director at the Peoria Riverfront Museum, which perhaps you were at last year for GLPA+WAC in 2024. And today I'm speaking about content marketing. The Peoria Riverfront Museum has a digital engagement strategy throughout all of our different discipline areas, art, science, and history. And while we see about 150,000 guests annually in our museum, our digital reach is much, much higher. Last year is at about, or I think up to date this year, we're at 3.1 million. So we measure our digital reach and our physical reach, and we track it, and we have a strategy across all department areas to communicate with people digitally. So I'm going to explain a little bit about that and what content marketing means and how it could benefit you. So what is content marketing as opposed to traditional marketing? Content marketing is delivering a message that your audience is interested in. You're not advertising events to them. What is your audience interested in? Space. What do they want to know about? What you can see in the night sky. Maybe there's a pretty picture of an aurora that they want to see. Maybe they want to know about what's happening on the International Space Station. Do they really want to know like your show schedule every single time you post on Facebook? Probably not. So some big brand examples of content marketing that have been highly successful are things like Spotify Wrapped. If you're a Spotify user, at the end of the year, you get like a playlist and a little experience that people share. That's not advertising Spotify as a direct product, but it is making people like Spotify more and building brand loyalty. Canva apparently has a savage TikTok. I'm not on, or not Canva. Duolingo has a savage TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but apparently that's a very successful content marketing campaign. And Canva's Design School, a free product. They're not selling something. They're teaching you basics of design, and it builds brand loyalty. So this is opposed to traditional marketing, and traditional marketing is just pushing information about what you want to tell your audience and putting it in front of them, or a billboard telling you to come to a specific event, maybe traditional TV or radio media as well. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do some traditional marketing. You do need to make sure people know what's happening in your planetarium. But my argument is at least 80% of what you should be sharing with your audience is content marketing. It's content that your audience is interested in, because that will build brand loyalty. It'll make people want to follow you. It'll expand your reach and make people trust you, see you as a trusted source of information. But in order to do that, you have to have some control. You have to have the ability to post on your social media. You have to be able to directly communicate with your audience in some way. So if that's not your case, if you don't have access to your social media, your institution, maybe have at least a meeting with the team that does and see if you can gain some access. Or you can use other methods. You can use a newsletter that goes out to your audience, or you can make video content that goes out specifically to your audience. So some things that have worked well for us, specifically Facebook, in this instance. The vast majority of what we post on our Dome Planetarium Facebook page is just cool stuff about space. And so here's just some of our best performing posts in the recent year. And you can see some of them get a tremendous number of views and interactions. And this is just a great picture taken from a satellite. You'll see that the poster is Nick Ray, spelt in a funny way. That is my coworker Nick Ray's burner account. And again, here's another one. It's just a picture of a comet. We're not selling something at the planetarium. We're just sharing some cool pictures of space. And here's a video from the SpaceX Dragon. And unfortunately, I didn't include like the top performing posts because those are from flat earthers who are attacking our page. But I included the ones that did well without as many of the flat earthers. And another way to build your audience for us specifically, Facebook, is doing telescope live streams. Our top performing telescope live stream ever was the Great Conjunction in 2020. Some of you guys were watching. Who was watching? Anybody? Yes. So we happened to have clear skies. We had a Dobsonian telescope and my iPhone, and that was it. And we live streamed it for an hour, and it had 80,000 views and over 1,000 concurrent viewers like the whole time. And it attracted a lot more people to our Facebook page. A lot of people started following us, and we always advertise our newsletter also during these live streams, and we include the link to it. So then it drives viewers to our newsletter. Now, that is not the same level of interaction that you're going to have with a guest in your planetarium, but it still makes your brand get stronger. People see you as, a friend who knows a lot about space. And who doesn't want a cool friend that knows a lot about space that they can follow on whatever platform they're on? So the point is, if you have some control, I would highly encourage you to make most of your content that you post on social media just be about what your audience wants to know about. Sprinkle in your schedule, sprinkle in events that you have coming up at your planetarium, but consistently post just cool information about space. And that will give you a wider audience and make your planetarium a trusted source of information. So some other things that work well for us are email newsletters. The Peoria Riverfront Museum sends out an absurd number of email newsletters. I think we send out 15 a week, written by different people. So Nick, my coworker, writes the planetarium one. I used to write this. He took it over about a year ago. And this goes out once a week. It's always about just basically space. It's the same stuff. What you can see in the night sky, a new picture from space, cool space news. It has just about 2,000 subscribers, and the 50% open rate is over industry standard, and has very few unsubscribes. That's been going since 2020. And then I write a general science and technology newsletter that also goes out once a week. It has about the same amount of subscribers, and you might notice in these screenshots, they're just narrative paragraphs about some cool information. I made an exhibit about marine life called From the Deep. So this is my most recent newsletter, and it was about sponges. Sponges are really cool. They can live 1,000 years. So here's the Dome Planetarium's newsletter stats for the past year. There's been 17 emails sent out, but because of our subscribers, those emails have gone to 31,000 different accounts, and again, over 50% open rate. They're never about events. They're only about content, but we put events under the signature. So like there'll be 3 paragraphs about something neat, and then under our signature, there'll be, hey, there's laser shows coming up at the planetarium. Oh, there's a wine and cheese under the stars next week, and the link to people can get tickets. So that way we are still advertising to them, but we have few unsubscribes and high open rates because people want to read about sponges. They can live 1,000 years. We invite people to sign up for these during live streams as well. In the planetarium, there's a QR code that you can sign up, and our ticket desk, when people join the museum as a member, they can sign up for an affinity group that will give them, they will get them on these newsletter emails. So something that you could do that might work better for you if you have a team that's passionate about this and like kind of sort of works for us is video content marketing or just talking to your audience directly through video. I used to do these What's Up videos, and I haven't been doing them in the past, I'd say 3 years, because the amount of work to rewards was unbalanced. We didn't have as many views as I wanted, and it took a lot. It was like me writing them and my coworker David editing them, and it was just a lot of work for the reward. But I do still do a lot of video content, especially with content in our galleries. I give video gallery tours that we put on video, or I talk about a specific piece in our collection, and those perform a lot better. So if you have somebody on your team that's really passionate about video editing, or just this is something that like your people are excited about, that is a good way to talk directly to your audience. Just didn't work out quite as well for us. And then finally, if you have a chance to go in front of traditional media, news, local news, radio, or any other forms of like local traditional media, again, I encourage you to make that be about the content your audience wants to know about. Be the person who talks about space on the radio if you can. Be the person who talks about space with your local meteorologists. And then if you have 10 seconds at the end of the performance, slip in, oh, and by the way, come to the planetarium. We've got this cool event coming up. But that shouldn't be the focus, because we all get advertised to all the time. Nobody likes it. So again, if you can talk about cool space stuff, you'll be the trusted expert. So the point is, you are the brand of your planetarium. So as much as you are comfortable, allow a little bit of your own personality to come out on the way you communicate with your audience. You're a unique person, you're a big space nerd, so is your audience. They want to get to know you. And if you can show a little bit of that aspect of you and your team on your social media and the way you communicate with your audience through newsletter or however you might do, you'll build a trusted audience. There's a parasocial relationship that develops where people feel like they know you and you're their friend who they get to learn about space from. And they will keep coming back because you're their trusted friend who they get to talk to about space. So I hope that is helpful, and I'd be happy to answer any questions with the few minutes I have remaining. And here's a gratuitous picture of my amethyst gallery of minerals. Woo!
All right, so we have time for exactly one question, and it has to be fast because we need those 3 minutes for technology turnover.
Look, no travel time. Thank you, Renee. I can really identify with and support like the idea that we should be people's friend who just knows a lot about science. What I sometimes run into just in my level of the museum where I'm at is that there's a little bit of hesitancy to relax a little bit, to present the science content as something that's illustrious and deserves to be in a big, marble building. Did you encounter any hurdles or obstacles to just kind of get the trust to handle the science in a way that is not too formal from anybody like within your organization?
Thank you. Good question. I think no, because I'm the science lady, and I have been for a long time, and I learned how to do public speaking at my museum. So I was terrified the first time I went on the radio, but since that time, it's something I do frequently. And I've always just learned to talk to the media like they're humans, like they're a person I'm having a conversation with, and then, it makes, so I haven't, but I understand that could be a challenge. People take themselves seriously sometimes, and I don't think that that social media is the place to do that. Even newsletters, like those are a little more formal because they're written paragraphs, but you should slip a little bit of yourself into it. Humans connect to humans. You got to make people feel like you're a real person, not a robot that is talking about space. I think we have to switch off.
We do have to switch off, so feel free to talk to Renee afterwards. As we all know, she is very friendly and more than happy to answer your questions. So another round of applause for Renee, please. Thank you, thank you. Up next will be Gary Lazich, also known as the Star Guy Gary, and he will be giving his presentation on who's on stage. So I will ask for a welcoming round of applause once he is ready.
Okay. Did you want to use the clicker? Yeah, if I could. Just real quick, make sure it goes. Great. So, left and right, and then there's a laser on it too.
All right, it seems
Good morning.
like they're ready. Yes, good morning. So could we have a welcoming round of applause for Star Guy Gary?
There we go. If I may. The title of this paper comes from the 1994 animated tribute to a famous 1930s radio comedy routine. It asks a question every planetarian should ask. It's a result of a triple conjunction, not as you might imagine a conjunction of moon and planets, but of ideas. The first idea arose recently after I watched Hugo, Martin Scorsese's 3D Valentine to Georges Méliès, and the early days of motion picture film production in the 20th century. That paralleled with the centennial of the planetarium, which happened about that same time, and there was a similar sense of excitement there. So those two things seem to go together. The second idea arose in July 2025 when I participated in the facilitator training at the Asheville Museum of Science. Even though Amos promotes interactive learning, I realized that my portable planetarium shows had devolved into illustrated lectures. That realization echoed my 2009 enrollment in the Alternative Teaching Certificate program at Benedictine University. With its emphasis on problem-based learning, the program encouraged us not to perform as a sage on the stage, but rather as a guide on the side. So my notes are missing, but that's okay. And then the third element of that triple conjunction happened when I watched an episode of Animaniacs that echoed a very famous radio show done by Abbott and Costello. Slappy and Skippy are two squirrels who wake up one morning to find that the Woodstock Music Festival has sprung up around them. And this is the dialogue that ensued. Wait, Skippy, let's start over. Is there a band on stage? Yes. Does that band have a name? Yes. Do you know the name of the band? Yes. So tell me the name of the band on stage. Who? The name of the band. Who? The band on stage. Who? The band playing on stage. Who? That's what I want to know. I'm telling you. Who is on stage? Yes. Who is? Yes. Oh, so the name of the band is Yes. No, Aunt Slappy. Yes isn't even at this concert. Then who is on stage? Yes. Who is? Yes. That's what I just said. Yes is on stage. No, Yes is not here. Who is on stage? What are you asking me for? I'm not. Wait, let's try this again. Do you see the band on stage? No, I don't see the band. That's a different group entirely. On stage, Skippy, look, see the band? No, I don't. Get rid of those John Lennon glasses and look. There's the band. No, that's not the band. The band is performing later on. Who is on stage? You tell me. Who? The name of the group on stage. Who? The name of the group. Who? The group on stage. Who? The band. No, the band is performing later. Right now we're listening to who? That's what I want to know. Like Slappy, as we contemplate our domes, we may well ask, who's on stage? This paper attempts to provide some answers. In 1974, Planetarium published an article by Max Airy then at the Noble Planetarium in Fort Worth, Texas, entitled The Third Stage of Planetarium Evolution. That was just over 50 years ago. I believe the time has come to extend his approach. Because I use the word stage in a different sense, I'll refer to Aries stages as phases, identifying who's on stage in each phase. Walter Bauersfeld demonstrated the first projection planetarium in 1923, followed by its first public showing in 1925. That showing launched what Airy called the mausoleum era, with large cities erecting large planetariums as monuments to the wealthy benefactors who paid for their construction. Who or what was on stage under their domes? Der Projektor in German, Projectate in Japanese, the machine in the center of the room. Discontent with the cost of these machines, Armin Spitz experimented with hole-punch soapboxes and finally unveiled his dodecahedron-shaped tabletop projector in 1947. The mausoleum era gave way to the classroom era as dozens of schools purchased relatively inexpensive Spitz projectors. Who was on stage? The teachers, of course, until 10 years later after the launch of Sputnik 1, suddenly we had a space race to win and the curriculum took center stage. As we approached the first human landing on the moon, planetarians continued to evolve, incorporating new media as they became available. Slides, special effects, panoramas, all skies, recorded soundtracks, film, and even hemispheric film increasingly occupied center stage as planetariums tried to elicit some of the excitement feature films like 2001: A Space Odyssey aroused in audiences. Airy does not name this phase of development, but decries the effect of the Hollywood or MGM syndrome. As production budgets swell, entertainment threatens to crowd out education, and planetariums become projectionists. Airy's analysis of planetarium evolution ends in 1984. How might he have described development after that? In the mid-1970s, a new coherent light occupied center stage in many public planetariums. Ivan Dreyer's Laserium, Floyd Ralstad's Laser Fantasy, and similar programs filled their domes with a new kind of entertainment, even as it relegated star fields to backgrounds. I suppose we could call this phase Let There Be Light. Astronaut Memorial Hall Planetarium in Cocoa, Florida blended laser images with other media, but most facilities let them take center stage to the exclusion of other visuals. While some larger facilities exploded with effects in the 1970s, some smaller ones imploded to become not sky theaters, but sky laboratories. Alan Friedman, Dennis Schatz, and Carrie Snyder developed participatory activities at the Lawrence Hall of Science. Terence Murtaugh introduced individual response systems at Planetarium Armagh to promote audience participation. And Carrie Berglund continues to promote such an approach with her LIPS sessions. Planetariums experienced a major evolutionary shift in the 1980s with the development of Digistar, digital video projection and full dome instead of optical mechanical projection. While some fear that this digital theater phase might once more relegate planetariums to the role of projectionists, others, like Carter Emmert, have taken command of the technology and of center stage to serve as tour guides, not just of the sky, but the entire cosmos. This year, we have experienced another shift, from domes as passive screens which reflect other media to digital domes which actively project to audiences hemispherically. It may be too soon to tell what this digital dome phase will mean for audiences and planetarians alike, but I believe we will not have long to wait. At this point, we may be tempted to sing like Will in the musical Oklahoma. Everything's up to date in planetariums. They've gone about as far as they can go. Nonetheless, I believe we have at least two more phases of future evolution to imagine. In the Odyssey phase, we must consider the effects of placing our planetariums under the control of artificial intelligence. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here today. We don't have much time, so let's get started. Our mission involves exploration of Jupiter and its moons to determine why an alien transmitter beamed a powerful radio signal from the moons of the system 18 months ago. I assure you that I am in complete command of our spacecraft and will do whatever is necessary to accomplish the mission. Finally, in the matrix phase, we leave behind our domes and our audiences altogether in favor of direct neural input along the lines of William Gibson's Neuromancer. Imagine a planetarium visitor jacking in while the technician loads a program. He or she might well experience, as Trinity did, a rapid blinking of closed eyelids as data pours in until at last the visitor opens eyes and says, "I know astronomy, let's go." We may well feel as confused, as frustrated as Slappy was at Woodstock now. During the 100 years planetariums have existed, we have progressed from optical mechanical machines to digital domes. Looking ahead, we can foresee domes controlled by AI and as settings for direct transmission of experience. Who is on stage? We are. We always have been. We design, fabricate, maintain, and operate the hardware in our domes. We conceive of, produce, and present the software in our domes. We still show visitors the stars as we have always done now, though with our new technologies we can show them far more. In the process, we educate, entertain, and enrich them in a way no other medium can. We may stand or sit at a console behind our audiences rather than physically on a stage, but we still serve as pilots in hemispheric versions of Carl Sagan's Spaceship of the Imagination. In a way, as we occupy our virtual stage, we play the role of the balloonist in To Fly. It's magnificent, we tell them, implicitly, if not explicitly. I wish you could all see it. We then proceed to show them what we see, a vision of the sky and of outer space that represents, to many people, a dream come true. Better yet, we invite them to join us on stage. Georges Méliès conveyed a similar version in Hugo as he introduced his restored films to an audience in Paris. If you've ever wondered where your dreams come from, look around you. This is where they're made. Look around your domes and see them not just as exhibits or classrooms or theaters, but as places where dreams can come true. My friends, I address you all today as you truly are. Wizards, mermaids, travelers, adventurers, magicians. Come and dream with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. That was a very lovely presentation. I will be definitely looking at that again on the YouTube channel when the video is posted. We may have time for one more question. Tech crew, would you rather just do a switch right now? Okay. Well, if you would like to talk to Gary, then you are more than welcome to after the paper session today. We are going to head to our next presenter.
Is yours already loaded on here? Which one? Cool. Click right there if you want it.
Thank you.
All right. I apologize, Mike. I didn't get a chance to check in with you before we got into this. So if I did not pronounce your last name correctly, I humbly apologize. But let's welcome to the stage Mike Murray. They will be giving their presentation on planetarium pointers. Can we have a welcoming round of applause?
Thank you, everybody. Glad to have you here. Good to be back at a GLPA conference, GLPA+WAC conference, excuse me. So I think a lot of you might know how I feel about professional development. It's something that has been something of a personal journey for me. And I guess one way to kind of ask the question, it can mean different things to different people, right? And I mean, Can it mean training? Does it mean just coming to conferences? And I guess this is one of the ways that I tend to look at it. I think of it as an ongoing process throughout our entire lives, as well as in our careers. It's a way of continuing to develop and learn and grow, and yet there's so many ways to see that. This has been something of a personal journey for me, going all the way back to my undergraduate years. I thought I was studying to be a physicist and astrophysicist. I wanted to go into research astronomy, but my first college in Colorado happened to have a planetarium in it. And so what a great opportunity. There was my work study job, right? Couldn't have asked for something better. And yeah, believe it or not, that is me in the middle there with hair. Once I got into graduate school, I was up at the University of Wyoming in Laramie, and lo and behold, they had a planetarium as well. And as a graduate student, they were more than happy to hand it over to me and say, here, have fun. We still want to do public programs and use it as a laboratory. I even taught astronomy classes inside the planetarium because they had those seats with the desks that fold out and all that good stuff. But it was also an opportunity. I was studying infrared astrophysics to work with the Wyoming Infrared Observatory, so I still looked at it as an opportunity to learn research astronomy, but I was becoming more and more interested in planetariums. And all through this time and in my undergraduate years, I kept looking for literature, and there just really wasn't much out there at the time. Yeah, there was the Planetarian magazine, and yes, there were state meetings and local regional meetings, and I went to those and learned a lot. But there really just wasn't a lot out there in terms of the literature. Well, I discovered there were some internships available. And some of you might remember the Motley Morley Foundation in University of North Carolina. The Moorhead Planetarium had an internship. Strassenberg had an internship, and I was lucky to be able to get accepted into that program. And that was incredible because you got to immerse yourself into everything planetarium. And I know there's not a lot of these formal internship programs available out there, but there are plenty of opportunities. And we're going to have a look at some of the other ways that professional development is available to a lot of us nowadays. I got into my very first professional position down at the original Orlando Science Center, the John Young Planetarium at the time. And I had an opportunity to start documenting a lot of what I had learned, but I also had the opportunity to collaborate or go on and learn from a lot of the other entertainment industries. But, you know, like Gary was alluding to, yes, Disney and Universal and all of those theme parks may focus a lot on entertainment, but they do have a very crafty way of putting messaging and education and inspiration into what they do. And I learned a lot about that and was able to incorporate some of those ideas into our programs, especially our live programs. I learned that that live element was an incredibly important aspect of what we do as planetarians, that it can't just be a fancy, you know, special effects experience or movie. Yes, those stories and the weaving of great artful scenery is important, but you still need to have a message. By the time I got into the Museum of the Rockies up in Montana, I became the service committee chair for the Rocky Mountain Planetarium Association, and I also wanted to be able to collect a lot of these ideas that I had learned over the years, and I also asked a lot of people to write articles for me, things that would cover many different aspects of planetarium operations, anywhere from marketing and advertising to fundraising to facility design, you name it. I was just trying to gather everything that I possibly could. And it was a very successful publication at the time. It also swelled our membership. We went from like 35 members to 120 members because we saw it as a great service. But let's circle back all the way now to the original question. What do we think of as professional development now? First of all, let me ask the question, why do we even bother? Why do we think we would still need professional development, even for those of us that have been in the business for a while? Well, as you can see, I think there are many reasons. There are opportunities that may present itself that you wouldn't have ever thought of unless you see what other people are doing. Yes, conferences like this are an awesome way, but do we really need to wait an entire year to feel inspired again? I think there are many opportunities and many sources now that are available, especially because of the digital age, where we can find resources and find inspiration, find some questions, and challenge ourselves. I think it's also a great way of setting an example for your staff, too. It's something that I would always try to involve my staff in, or try to give them assignments even for, okay, instead of me always having all the answers, that's not the job of a director. I think that it's also the job to inspire and say, well, where would you go and look to find out more? And if they don't know, help guide them a little bit. So mentorship is always an important aspect of being a planetarium manager or a professional development inspirer. Yes, there are lots of resources that are available. We certainly discovered a lot of them during the pandemic, but there were a lot of things that, of course, the IPS has always had the quarterly journal. There's more elements that are going online that are available now. Yes, there are the live webcasts and things that are being recorded. There's more that's getting posted out there, like on YouTube. And it's great, but I think it's also great to be able to incorporate maybe some kind of an assignment. Maybe it's when we find something that particularly inspires us, well, how are we going to take it and use it? Maybe you give one of your staff an assignment and say, hey, I just discovered this new way of doing a music show. Let's produce one and take the advice. There are more informal internships. We heard about some of those earlier. And I think sometimes those shorter, more informal internships can be really valuable, and they have inspired a lot of people to pursue this as a career. I mean, I've seen a lot of people get bitten by the planetarium bug, shall we say. And so this can be an awesome way of filling in and getting more diverse experience in the business. All right, so this brings us to this new program that we're doing in GLPA. It's called Planetarium Pointers. And the idea is that it's not just going to be a whole bunch of articles that we suddenly throw up on the website and say, here, read them. We've all seen what happens with those. A lot of times they just sit there. So we want to post something once a month on the GLPA website that anybody and everybody can read. And it can be a contribution from anyone, not just from me, but anyone who has an idea that wants to post. And then it becomes thrown out there as a discussion topic. People can contribute ideas. So more than just, like I said, posting and reading, we want to build also, yeah, it's a great way for us to build membership in GLPA, is anybody can read them, but if you want to participate, just become a member. And then you get into the portal, you can participate, give feedback. The idea is for these to become living documents. Back during the pandemic, there was the Planetarium Network that some of you I know participated in, and it was a great way for people to throw in ideas and add content, and so the documents continually evolved and improved over time. And that just became more and more useful to many more people. So the discussion was a great way of improving and making these more widely useful and available. They don't have to be contributions even strictly by planetarians. There are a lot of related industries now, and a lot of things we talked about, like presentation techniques. That doesn't have to come strictly from planetarians. So there's lots of opportunities for other related industries to post there. The topics can be almost anything you can imagine underneath the planetarium dome. It doesn't have to be even an educational topic specifically. It can be, well, what about sound design? What about advertising and marketing? So there are, you can just imagine, the list goes on. Again, participation and comments, all you have to do is become a GLPA member. There's a shortened link for you right there. We would love for you to become a member, and there are, of course, many other benefits that you can gather, as Jeff has alluded to. All righty. So this is what's new. If you're going to the website, what you would do is to go to, here's the home page, or actually the resources page, and there's a section up there that's called planetarium pointers. So it's under the resources section, and this is what it'll look like when you go to it. The very first article is posted there. And I will make a quick comment. The professional skills of the planetarium, it is a nice long list of all of the things that we like to develop as skills and what we need, what kind of qualities do you need in order to have those skills. It's not meant to be an exhaustive list of what everybody should do in your planetarium, but at least it helps address some of the things, especially if you're trying to make justifications to your administration, why you need to hire a professional. These can be very useful. So the first one is out there. We'll be posting something new every month, and I'll make sure that things go out on social media and on the GLPA listserv, on the IPS, on Domel, all of those resources. So we'll make sure that you're all notified when a new article becomes available. And so I think I made it in time.
You did. Thank you so much for your talk.
Okay, I hope that helps.
Yes. All right, we officially got 5 minutes till lunch. So does anyone have any questions that they want to ask? Ooh, coming back there, Jeff.
Thanks. So if we have ideas for planetarium pointer articles, should we run those ideas past you?
Yeah, right now I'm kind of the point person. I won't be the only person that's involved in the project, but right now, yeah, please send your ideas to me. I think I had my email up there at the beginning, but if you like, I have my cards and such, and so please, yeah, any ideas that you have, even if you don't have something that you've written yourself, but you've seen something you think might be a good contribution to the site, please let me know.
Any questions? Because I do have a comment, but I'm the MC, so I would like guests to go first. Cool. So in my communications class, one of it was to do, we were put in groups to study some Harvard case studies, but this class is human communication. So I was curious, some of these Harvard case studies are very long and a bit dense. So would you appreciate just the article when sharing sources like that, or would you prefer that we share the article and maybe a condensed version, perhaps? Because I've read one of the case studies on the list and I made my own notes that make it less dense. So would you appreciate that alongside difficult articles like that?
You know, it would actually, I find what's really useful is if there are condensed versions or shortened versions, but a link to the larger articles or, you know, and any kind of bibliography that can go in there as sources are really valuable. Because, yeah, you know how it is, a lot of us may not be able to read the entire in-depth article, but what are the conclusions? What are the major points?
Okay. Any final questions before we dismiss for lunch?
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you all for being gracious with me. I hope you enjoy your lunch, and I will see you in there momentarily. Have a great rest of your conference, everyone.